What can I tell you? My episode is set on a junkyard planet. I can tell you that. Which has actually a lot to do with my personal love of the Doctor Who mythology and the fact that it all started in a junkyard. So I thought I'd set this episode in a junkyard. And in a universe, a tiny little pocket universe that only contains an asteroid with a junkyard on it. So it's got a junkyard in it, and on the junkyard live Uncle and Auntie and Nephew and Idris. And the first thing that Idris gets to do is die in the first scene. And then she gets to star in the episode for the rest of it because she's played by the wonderful Saran Jones. What else? I can tell you it takes us further into the TARDIS than I think we've gone before. Which actually made the BBC have to build bits of the interior of the TARDIS because they haven't had any before now, but so we get to do that. And I can tell you that Matt and Saran are an astonishing double act. And watching their relationship, it's funny and it's moving and it's frustrating and it's heartbreaking, and you get to understand, I think, a little bit more about the Doctor by the end of it. And you also get to see a side of the Doctor that we don't normally see. And what I find so interesting about that is that was sort of there in my script, but it's really there in the way Matt chose to play it, which is this astonishing vulnerability. And, you know, you get to see the Doctor doing things he's never quite done before, and having to be and actually, in a weird way, out of his comfort level. And that is something that I sort of thought about while I was writing it, but it wasn't big and important. It wasn't in the forefront. It was just what was going on. But when you actually sit and watch it, and you watch Matt, whether you're a fan of Matt's or not, you watch him, you know, playing the Doctor, playing the Doctor out of his depth, and it is heartrending and quite wonderful. Like it or loathe it, there are a few things I get to do that you can only do once, and I got to be the first person who did them, which means I got to be the person who did them. You know, there are those episodes, probably the obvious one is The Girl in the Fireplace, where, you know, Moffat got to write The Doctor in Love. You don't get to write that episode twice. He's not James T. Kirk. He doesn't fall in love every episode. It's, you know, we'd never done it before. It will almost never, you know, probably never be done again, or never be done in that way again, but here you go. And that was wonderful. And my episode, I get to do one of those things. So that made me happy.
And you watched the episode for the first time recently in its completed form. How did you feel about that?
Actually, what was really weird is I watched it twice in its completed form. I watched it once, just straight, I downloaded it, and just before I got on the plane yesterday, I watched it. And that was weird, because what I was watching it for, though, was to see, okay, which lines of dubs made it in and what they didn't, and what, you know, Murray Gold had done with the music and how that had worked and what the special effects looked like. So I wasn't really looking at it as a story. I was just looking at it to see all the bits and how they joined and whether they worked and what was in and what wasn't and stuff. And then last night I thought, you know, I will probably get into enormous trouble for this. But I turned to the friends I was with and I said, if everybody promises absolute secrecy, would you mind being an audience for my Doctor Who? I would actually like to see it with people around. And so I put it on, and my friends and I are sitting there watching it. And there was a point 3/4 of the way through or so, and I looked around and realized that a bunch of people are watching it, and they have wet cheeks and, you know, glistening tears on their cheeks, and they haven't stopped, and they aren't getting out tissues or anything, just watching. And it was this amazing feeling of, this has worked. This is actually doing what I hoped it would do, and it's doing it even more than that.